自動式人形サービスバイオレットエバーガーデンです。
Greetings, dear sirs and ma'ams. We are both pleased and grateful you have decided to use your precious time to join us in this captivating episode of 3 out of 10 anime fans recommend you check out this podcast if you ever get reincarnated into another world, aka 3 out of 10 anime. We truly hope you find the show enjoyable and intriguing as we rank anime based on 2 set rubrics so they may become comparable, contrastable, and recommendable to you, our most honored guests. Allow us one small moment to introduce our agenda within which we will traverse the hills and valleys of enjoyment and technical accomplishment. We begin by giving our first impressions and summarize our feelings about the show in one sentence. Then we give our personal enjoyment score from 1 to 10 based on our own personal rubrics for how much we enjoyed the show. We will then have a short intermission within which Skyler will introduce a variety of fun facts. Following, we will undergo our technical assessment, which is a 1 to 10 ranking on a collective rubric with 4 criteria. Finally, to conclude, we will provide comparisons and recommendations for other media which you should consume and announce our following week's show. Your hosts and guests for this episode hail from the United States, each with a plethora of varying opinions, tastes, and backgrounds, which we do hope you will find engaging and entertaining. We are proud to bring you this episode of Violet Evergarden, the drama available on Netflix, within which we will cover the show and the major motion pictures. Please be cautioned that we investigate every cranny of aforementioned content and leave nothing to the imagination. So do please watch the show if you wish to avoid any spoilers. Once again, welcome and enjoy the show. Sincerely yours, Brett,
Skyler,
Braydn,
and Bridget.
Postscript. We regret to inform you that we had already recorded this episode, but due to unforeseen technical issues, this is a re-recording of our original, and so we will reference that episode and our scores throughout. Thank you once again.
Well done, well done.
Indeed.
I wish I had mechanical hands to the clicking sound, but this is good.
Clang, clang, clang.
And so, without further ado, how would you all summarize your feelings about Violet Evergarden in one sentence?
Oh boy, I'll take it. Right. My one sentence on Violet Evergarden is, I wandered into something wonderful. I mean, wandered being heavily guided by Brett and Bridget over the course of about a year to enjoying it, and found that it blew away my expectations all the same.
That's really impressive considering we talked it up a lot.
True.
So I was
true.
really, really worried that when you watched it, you'd be like, oh man, you guys talked about this like the Bible, but it's like not even that cool.
Yep.
It's cooler than the Bible. I'm just kidding.
Sorry, Bible, you're still cool. You're still cool. If you're out there
I'm just
listening.
kidding. All right.
Okay, who's next?
Sweet.
I can go.
I'll go next.
Oh, Brett,
I'll
go
go next because I only need one word. Beautiful. Everything about Violet Evergarden is beautiful. The music, the art, the stories, the characters, the music, the art, the music. It's just
the art.
Beautiful. It's beautiful in every sense. So that's all I got.
All right. So now I will go next. My one sentence is that it is a beautiful emotional journey that I wasn't expecting, but greatly appreciated.
Love it.
I was going to say like the same thing as Skyler. What the heck? No, literally like almost the same words. All right, let me say it in a different way, I guess. We share the same brain cell. Okay, my one sentence impression of Violet Evergarden is that it is a beautiful and immersive emotional journey that I greatly I'm saying the same thing as Skylar. I was about to say greatly appreciated, but that's what you said. Oh my gosh. It
I am
was.
grateful from
Here we
through
go.
my
Okay.
heart. Yeah.
I'll go from a different angle. Violet
Yeah.
Evergarden is the perfect show to watch when you're snowed in a cabin in the winter around Thanksgiving and you have nowhere to go.
Yeah.
Because that is how Brett and I watched it. It is the
Indeed, we
perfect
were.
show for that.
Yep, we were snowed in a cabin, and it was a great watch.
Immaculate.
Now let's give our personal enjoyment. So we rank it on 1 to 10 based on our own rubrics about how much we liked watching it. And you can actually find our rubrics, all of our individual rubrics, on our website, 310anime.com, 310anime.com, so you can follow along with us. Bridget, do you want to start? What enjoyment did you give Violet Evergarden?
Yes, I will start. I gave Violet Evergarden an 8.5. So, according to my personal rubric, an 8 is a great show that I really enjoyed and may watch again, but had a few things I didn't like or would have changed that affected my enjoyment of the show. And a 9 is an amazing show I loved, thoroughly enjoyed, and would watch again, but may have had some things I didn't like or was missing that magic element to push it to a 10. So, Violet Evergarden is comfortably at an 8.5, right between those where it was incredible in so many ways. There are a couple things that kind of took me out of it, but they were so tiny that it really didn't affect it all that much because it was such a good show.
All right, I can go next. I give Violet Evergarden a 7.5, but specifically it is at the very, very top of my 7.5 list. Like it's almost an 8. So for me, a 7 is a great show that really keeps me interested, entertained, engaged, but it has some things that really bother me, or some things about it just really don't suck me in. Whereas an 8 is a wonderful show that I really seriously enjoy, and its flaws or unenjoyable components, they don't overwhelm, but they stand out enough to distract from the good aspects. And so that's why Violet Evergarden is between those two for me. Sky?
All right, so I gave Violet Evergarden an 8.5, and much like you, Brett, this is actually on the upper end of my 8.5s.
Wow.
So that's, really good. And for me, an 8 is a show that I enjoyed but had problems. I might watch it again with others, but I won't watch it again alone. Whereas a 9 is a show that I will readily recommend, and I will watch it with others, and I might watch it again on my own. So for me, it's right in between those, kind of taking it towards the 9.
Sweet. All right, Braydn.
All right. For my personal enjoyment, it landed a 7. Actually, very close to Brett's ranking. First, my 7s are where an anime is a borderline inspirational experience for me. There's something enticing or magical, invigorating. Yet there are some major points about the show that bother me, and I'll throw those as a 7.
Okay. All right. So that's our scores. Let's dive into why we gave this show those scores. And I'll just start because to me, this part of the show I enjoyed as a 10, the art and the music. Like Violet Evergarden is a literal textbook masterpiece of art and music. Like the music of this show alone is absolutely mind-blowing, and then the animation is just incredible. Like we could talk about this part of it for like the whole episode of this podcast, so I'll just throw that out there and say it was breathtaking. Literally breathtaking.
Absolutely. If I just sat and enjoyed just that, if I just enjoyed just the music and the visuals, I could just sit there and like that could be my screensaver. That could be my background, ambiance existence. I'd love that.
Easily.
Kind of like there's a couple of shows that have done that for me. Like Ranking of Kings, I kind of said the same things when we reviewed that one. Is like there's a lot of things that, story-wise might be iffy, but boy howdy, is it just an experience to let that wash over me. It's like a balm to my senses. just soaking in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that has like a constantly evolving score,
I know.
and like it may have some kind of like little themes that
Oh.
repeat, but honestly, I didn't really pick out anything that was super repetitive. It was just like completely original every time, so emotive and moving. Even on like the like where they were just, riding on a train, like they weren't nothing was going on. They were just sitting on a train, but it was the most magical train ride ever because
the mood is still there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it keeps it going through the whole thing.
And what makes it even more amazing, Skyler's going to share a really interesting fact during our intermission that puts the context of this
Oh, yeah.
incredible animation
know.
just on a whole nother level. Like
Oh,
it's
yeah.
man, yeah.
It's
Crazy.
a miracle, honestly.
It's a miracle of a show. Honestly, it is.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Anyway, what other stuff? What other stuff did we like or not like? Let's keep the enjoyment discussion going.
So for
Yeah.
me, I'll launch into the emotional journey that I kind of mentioned. And that was an aspect that I really liked. And the way to kind of sum that up is from the very first episode when not Gilbert, it is Claudia Hodgins, tells her,
yeah.
you're burning up and you don't know it.
Mm.
And she adamantly denies it. It was like, I'm not burning up. You are. I'm not. You are. I'm not. I feel fine.
Mm.
And then later when I think she's coming back, and then it finally hits her.
Uh-huh.
And she's just, and Baynor's like, I'm burning,
Yeah.
I'm burning, I'm burning.
I literally rewatched that episode today. That's one of my favorite episodes. It's episode 7 with the artist or the playwriter.
Yeah.
That's so sad and needs somebody to write for him for once.
Mm-hmm.
It's on the ride
Yeah.
home from that where she breaks down and like admits to the fact this burning poeticism. She gets it. Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, yes, yes,
Was that
yes,
the episode with the umbrella and the lake as well?
yes.
That
Yes,
was
the
yep,
same
yep,
one?
Yeah.
Yep.
Holy, yeah, that, like, I actually remember, the reason I remember that so specifically is because me and Bridget were, like, and I don't want to talk this up too much for anyone who's going to who hasn't seen the show and decides to go watch it, but this moment with, like, the umbrella and the lake, it was so beautiful. I remember sitting there just thinking, this is the most incredibly animated thing, most beautiful animated thing I've ever watched. Like,
Yeah,
my
that-
mind exploded at that moment, and I was like, holy cow, this is
That moment
incredible.
when she like literally jumps off the water, like
Yeah.
so. I swear, there's some anime that wish they had the budget for that one shot. because
There's so many anime
Boy,
that
howdy.
try to have that moment
Yes.
Yeah.
and just don't.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep,
It was so beautiful.
So that's actually my second favorite episode of the season. Like, because each episode is like a little mini story encapsulating her writing or Violet, the main character, writing a miniature or writing a letter or some kind of missive for anybody in this like European, ancient European, or not ancient, but like, what am I trying to say? 1800s European
Yeah,
setting.
yeah, yeah.
It's like post World War II era.
Yeah, it's like 1940s.
Something.
It
Yeah,
is-
it's modern. Sorry, I'm bad with eras,
Right.
but
They don't have phones yet in the original show, but they do have metallic arms that
they
work.
do have metallic arms for some reason. And literally only one person.
Yes,
It's
one
literally
person
only the
gets to
main
have
character.
them. Yeah.
It's so weird because like there's one character with automail, like from Full Metal Alchemist, and then there's like trains and
Typewriters.
everywhere else, and that's it.
It's very silly.
Well,
And
they-
like a lot of people lose limbs in this show.
Yeah.
It's
But-
true, but
Yeah,
only
Gilbert
one
didn't
person
get
gets the
a-
automail.
Yeah, Gilbert didn't get a new arm.
Yeah, and that's actually a good reason to launch into the parts that is why I didn't give it a 10. And that was one of them, which is where, yeah, she's the only one who had the arms, and it was just kind of a convenience factor to have her lose her arms and yet still be able to do
Yeah.
her auto memory
Oh.
doll thing.
Yeah.
And even on that front, I feel like the whole auto memory doll thing was a bit weird, especially when they explained what it
No.
was supposed to be.
Yeah.
Because it's not just her, the one person with like a mechanical arm who acts like a robot. it's everybody in that profession is not listed as an auto memory doll. They won't shut up about it.
Yep. But
Yeah, the thing that really just kind of did it for me, I think what Skylar's getting at is the way they explained why auto memory dolls needed to exist is the fact that everyone forgot how to read
During the war.
and the war was not that long. It was like a few years.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what? And like, yeah, there's like, I've heard people say like, oh, no, the auto memory dolls are there to help express feelings in a way that the person wanting to send the letter couldn't do it, even if they could write. But that's not how they explain it in the show.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
a couple times that's true, but other times they specifically say everyone forgot how to read. It's like, what?
and even
Was this like
then-
100-year war? No.
No.
Yeah.
It was just a bit weird. And even if this is a point I'm going to let Skylar jump on board after I say it. Another point is, even if that's true, the progression of Violet's prestige among the auto memory dolls was way wacky. Like, I'll let you dive into more on that, Skylar. Like, you explain that bit.
Oh.
Yeah, so I'll backtrack just a little bit and then go forward about the other reason why the auto memory doll doesn't make any sense is because the other reason that they were explaining the whole doll thing is that this one lady either lost her sight or something, and she created this thing to write down what she said to continue writing her books. And yet the entire purpose of the auto memory dolls isn't to write down what the people are saying. It's to essentially, like, especially in the case of the playwright, to be a ghost writer and to
Yeah.
transform what these people are saying. But that's
That would
never
make more sense. Yeah.
explained. It was never like that connection was never made. It went from, oh, a mechanical device that people who can't write can now write, to this transformative, transfigurative person.
Yeah, and it would have made, because like unless I'm remembering wrong, but basically all of the situations where Violet is hired to write are basically like reasons that we just talked about, where it's like it makes sense, like where the mom was sick and she couldn't write, for the daughter and the playwright was having writer's block, so he needed help, and like the just like it made sense in the situations where she went to go write them, or like the princess where it was she couldn't write it herself because she didn't know the words to say because it was supposed to be like a love letter. But even then it's like, how does Violet know that? Anyways, that's a whole nother.
How
And
does
that's the part
Violet know that?
Brett was going into.
Oh, okay.
That's the part that
Yeah.
Brett was getting into.
Oh.
Is that essentially,
Besides, yeah.
essentially what happens there is that she goes to the school to learn how to be a good writer, and she goes straight from that to writing these national letters for this princess court thing.
But not only that, it's like she wasn't like an anime prodigy at writing letters. She was notably the worst in the class and barely got out of school. Then 2 episodes later is writing these fanciful love letters is for this integral political spiel between 2 nations. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Please, come on. You got to give you a little bit of preamble for that.
All the other situations made sense except for that one. And if they had just, like you said, just said that it was the purpose of the auto memory dolls was to do like people who needed help or like had writer's block or like whatever, that would have made it way better.
Also, if they just like put that episode way later in the series.
Yeah.
It definitely felt like, and there would not have really been any detriment to the story they were telling if they just switched where some episodes were. Like,
would have made it better.
Like we said, like there were some times when Violet was going to write a letter that was just like, that is way above her pay grade, but this other one seemed simpler. Like, if they just switch the order, like, I would love to maybe one day like find out like why'd you put this episode here versus here, because logically it just really didn't track. And it was like,
and even
like,
even there, like the recommendation that I would throw out is like maybe even have like the playwright one first, because then she's working with an experienced author, and so she kind of becomes like his pupil, where he can like teach her like, hey, this isn't right, you need to write it like this, because like that's his whole thing, where it's like, you write it down, you help me get over it, but I'm still rereading this, and I'm still telling you where to make the fixes.
Yeah, they just have to find some way to add a new artistic high point somewhere further along the show, because that thing landed like almost dead center of the show, and then my mind is
Yes.
blowing. I don't want my expectation like have to go down from there. You know what I mean?
Actually, here's a better one to incorporate for like the first one after is the whole like astronomy one.
Yeah, I was
Were they-
thinking about
'cause-
that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Because that one's literally just, hey, here's what the book says. You write it down exactly.
Yeah.
And it's literally the episode after the princess one.
The princess
Yep.
one would have been a good one to like be like near the end because that's like when she's figuring out for herself like what love means, and then she's writing a love letter. Like it could help her push along. Like
I mean,
Yeah.
they also, I mean, that still doesn't work because they do reference the princess letters in later episodes as like the reason why she got popular. But she didn't need to get popular that fast, let's be honest. And she shouldn't
Yeah.
have written that letter if she wasn't popular in the first place.
yeah,
Yeah,
true.
that part didn't
Yeah.
make a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
Well,
Yeah.
the reason she went to write that is because the teacher, for whatever reason, recommended Violet over all of her other pupils to go and write it.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, I do have something I want to put in here, kind of like jumping off of this train a little bit.
Yeah, do it.
So episode 6, the scholars in the tower writing the old manuscripts, translating those into modern books. There's a weird question that comes out of that one for me. Leon, her like partner, her male partner guy that helps translate the old text, is like, I still don't know if Leon is actually Violet's long lost brother, because he's also like an estranged orphan that is kind of weird and doesn't really get on with the other scholars or whatnot, just like she is with her contemporaries. And then also like he knew his mom, and she doesn't know either her parents, and they kind of have the same eyes, and that's a pretty big indicator in anime. So I'm like, of the myriad of headcanons I have for this show, they kind of like left that for me. It was nice. It was a little fun little bite.
Yeah, I can see. I mean, I actually, to truth be told, I kind of had that vibe too, and I thought they'd take it somewhere, but then they never did.
Then
Take
they
it
never
anywhere.
did. Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
seemed like it was gonna be important for later.
Yeah, not even in
wasn't.
any of the 3 movies they've written references him. At least I've seen one
Yeah.
of them.
No, none of them reference him. He pops
Yeah.
up, and then that's basically. I think that maybe he like shows up in like a montage talking about the work that she's done, but that's it.
Oh, interesting. Okay. That's still
but-
not what they were trying to put those characters. If there's ever a shippening happening of some kind, it was those characters either being
shippening.
related or or being interested
Yeah.
because they
Shippening.
related to each other.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
then, I want to take a quick tangent into the movie and about how the breaks there made no sense, and it was rather jarring to me. It was like, oh, we're in the future. Oh, we're back in the past again.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, before you do that, Skylar, we need to rate the movie.
Oh.
We need to share our rating for, now this is specifically Violet Evergarden Eternity on the Auto Memory Doll. So there's a couple OVAs and there's 2 movies that have been made, but the one we're referring to is the big main one that continues the A plot with her and the captain. So Eternity and the Auto Memory Doll.
Major, not the captain.
Major. Sorry, I said captain. Major. The major.
The
So
major.
let's give our ratings for the movie really quick.
Sure.
I can start because my score went up. I actually gave the movie an 8.0, where I gave the show a 7.5. So it went up by half a point for me.
And
Okay.
why was that? Or are we going into it? Or
We'll get into that.
We'll
right.
get
Yeah,
to
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Short
we'll
little
get into
bites.
I'll actually jump in real quick and say that mine did the exact same thing. I gave the show an 8.5. I gave the movie a 9. So just ticked up that half point.
Wow.
For
All right.
me, the movie hit the same tempo as the TV show for me. I gave it also a 7. It, I mean, it's a little bit more polarizing. We'll get into that why that is. Yet in the end, it's still a net 7 for me.
mine was also the same. I gave it an 8.5 because I felt like it continued the story really well, so it hit the same.
Yeah.
Sweet. So that's interesting. So 2 people it stayed the same, 2 people it went up by half a point. But Skyler, you were mentioning something not great about the movie. What was that?
So one of the things that they do is that they essentially have the children of one of the people that she goes and writes the letters for, where she gains a curiosity in who this Violet Evergarden person is. And so throughout the movie, it jumps to her and just kind of learning about just the legacy left behind by Violet Evergarden. And so while it was an interesting tidbit to throw in, it was jarring whenever there was the switch, because a lot of the scenery is just very similar.
Yep.
And most of the time, it's kind of hard to tell that there was a jump that had just happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Very true.
For such a show that hits its mark time and time and time again, this was the weird combo crasher that just absolutely ruined the tempo of enjoying whatever this was. There was a perfectly valid way of squeezing all that into like an epilogue or prologue and just leaving it there.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
And indicating 5 years later or whatever,
No, this was like
or like 40
2
or whatever.
generations later.
Yeah.
Because
That's right.
it was like the person for the letters were like the grandma or like the great grandma or something like that.
Well, in the episode with the mother and the daughter is now a grandma, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Or is she a great grandma? It's the great granddaughter telling the story.
I
Like,
think
maybe you're right. It is weird.
I think the little daughter is now the great grandmother. I think that's what it was either grandma or great grandma, but I'm pretty
think
sure
it's
it was
grandma.
great. Oh, I
think
don't know.
it is grandma.
I don't remember. It must have been
But-
a good amount of time because they did
Yes.
have phones now, so
It's true.
that'd be a decent amount of time passed.
Yeah. The movie, yeah, there's some good moments out of there. There was some good stuff out of there.
Yeah, for me, I really, or were you going to say something, Braydn?
Yeah, I was gonna.
Okay,
like,
go ahead.
There
Go
was like, there was like this whole like subplot with this, because the main story is about 2 main plots. It's about this kid having a letter written for, kind of like mimicking the mother-daughter letter in episode 10 of the show. Is this kid writing for his family because he's having a hard time telling them his feelings, or feeling that there should be something left of him behind, even though he's like very upset at them most of it. And then also, Violet finds that there's a trail to her captain or her Major Gilbert finally. And both those kind of end for me very well, especially for the sibling, the letter she's trying to write, or the kid rather, not the sibling. The kid, when he is encouraged to like confront or like tell his brother goodbye to his face, or no, over the phone.
That was his friend, not his brother.
Oh, was it his friend?
It was
Yeah,
his best friend.
Dang it! I didn't refresh the movie. I'm sorry.
No, that's
But
okay.
the moment on the phone where he's saying goodbye to his brother because he's dying, I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it just gave me the good heart squeeze.
Yeah, there were moments in the movie and all over the episodes, because even the episode 10 that you referenced, which was being referenced in the movie,
Yeah,
that was a very intense episode.
that was my favorite episode.
Like,
Yeah.
whew.
Yeah. One of the things I really liked about the movie is, again, focus on the A plot. So that's something that was kind of hard for me with the original series. Was I'm a very A plot driven person. Like, I want things to move. I want to get to the main story. And so where Violet Evergarden was supposed to be a more episodic, like drawn out, like she's learning about her life through these different experiences. But every couple episodes, they would like throw in something about her past and the Major and her life in the war. I was like, I want more of that. Like, that was kind of harder for me to. It was kind of hard for me to not get more of the A plot. But the movie was just basically pure A plot, which is one small side story, but that acted as a type and shadow of Violet that was really powerful.
Yeah.
And by the way, Sorry for the distraction. If anyone is just listening, you might want to check out our YouTube channel because my tongue matches my shirt and my eyes. So
And we
I look
can't
like
stop staring at it.
I look like a blue-tongued skink in this episode. So sorry, I had a sucker before we recorded, and
cute.
I didn't realize until like halfway through the sucker, I'm like, great,
Was
my
it
mouth's gonna be
a violet
blue.
sucker?
It was blue raspberry.
Oh,
My
well.
favorite flavor. Anyway, so I can't. Yeah, I'm probably distracting everybody with it now, but
Well, I'll spin it back around because you were kind of leading into it. Like, there was 2 storylines of this one, and the main A line of the whole show and movie of her getting back and talking to Major Gilbert, her major. The ending of that, where he rejects her, and the thing she can finally do after all this time is write her feelings for the major, and discussing about how he betrayed her by existing and leaving her behind, and her writing out her resolution to not ever see him again as per his wishes. Wow. Like, I'm sorry, I wish I could convey more here, guys, because wow.
Yeah.
They landed that complex emotion lump for our robot character in this beautiful anime.
Yeah.
Just
Especially because she spent the whole like entirety of the show like her whole goal was to like write him a letter. The whole entire of the show she kept starting and stopping and starting and stopping. And so then how it ended in the movie with her actually writing a letter, but it doesn't go the way that you think, because it's not a quote unquote happy ending at that point, because she thinks that he doesn't want to see her. And so then she has to like write a letter that she wasn't expecting to have to write, kind of thing. Like it sucked.
yeah.
So it was a great moment.
I know that I think everyone here loves the ending. For me, the ending, it missed just a little bit for me. Mostly because now the post-credit scene did a lot for me. I really loved the post-credit scene. So if you haven't seen it and you watch the movie without going to the end of the credits, go watch it. It's like 5 seconds. But it was very much what I needed to feel happier about the ending. For me personally, I just wish that one time at the very end she would have called him by his name just once.
Yeah. I
And
remember you saying that.
and they would have embraced, like, I needed just a little bit more closure on that thread before they cut it.
Yep.
For my tastes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I was a little
Agreed.
disappointed in the ending.
Well, and to add to that disappointment, they had the whole future thing going on, and they didn't do anything to help with that.
I was legitimately a little upset at that. Yeah.
So that was one of the big reasons that it's sitting at a 9 and not any higher.
To toss in my disappointment, I'm upset once again about a headcanon I had about these characters that they messed up by writing this movie. Because right at the end of the TV show, episode 13 or 12 or whatever it is, she writes a letter that goes to a whole bunch of people. She puts it up in the sky. I think it's even to Gilbert, I think. And it gets airdropped across the land. And then one letter, we follow it for like a whole minute through these landscapes, and it weaves around. And then she lands on a violet in this field. I'm like, oh, in my head, I say, oh my goodness, is that where he died? Is that where Gilbert's body is? And her letter made it to him, and she did the thing she's not to do. She just doesn't know it. And oh my heart, are you serious right now? And then the movie started, and I'm like, oh wait, he's alive. Oh, is he really now? Like, dang it. He's alive? Darn it. It was beautiful for a moment.
Am I the only one who liked the ending of the movie? I was okay with them not, like, kissing or whatever, because like it would have
I
felt.
didn't say they had to kiss. I didn't say they had to kiss.
Okay, they did embrace, but she didn't hug him back because she was too overcome.
Oh,
I know.
And I thought that
I
was
know,
fine.
Bridget.
I thought that was fine. She couldn't even finish saying what she was gonna say because she was too overcome, and she always said to the boss of the letter writing place, she
Gilbert.
always was
Or no,
like,
Claudia.
Claudia, yeah, she always told him, but I don't know the words to say. I don't know the words to say. And then she would always start writing the letter, then she'd stop because she didn't have the words to say. And so I thought it was appropriate that in that moment, especially when he was like right there in front of her, of course she didn't have the words to say because she hadn't had them the whole time.
Yeah.
The only time that she had the words to say was when she thought that she was never going to see him again.
Bridget, you're getting snaps. Well said, friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because, yeah,
I
if it
know,
wasn't
I know.
clear, I loved that moment. It's one of my top,
Yeah.
most emotional moments in all anime.
Yeah,
Is that
it
moment in the
hit.
movie
Wow.
about Evergarden.
Yeah.
And not to detract from it, but I really did enjoy the moment as well. I just wanted more.
But,
I'm
Yes,
greedy.
yes, that is a good way to say it. I just wanted a little more.
It would have
Like-
been perfect if they had had like the future girl narrating or something, and then it like showing like little flashes from like their life together and stuff. That
Yes.
would have been a nice ending, like it as like a post credit kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, I heard that she lived here with this guy, and like
Yeah.
it like flashing through. So like I think that would have been cool, but
Yeah.
they did
Yeah,
not
And
do
that's
that.
and that's what I mean by they had an opportunity to give me that more that I wanted,
Yeah.
and I didn't get it.
Especially with the
Yep.
whole future thing set up, like it was asking to be that.
Yeah,
I
it was
even thought that the
perfect place to do
postman,
it.
yeah, I even thought that the postman at the end that like she went up to and like he was like, this is where she worked, or I don't remember what he said, but I thought that that was gonna like end up being like their kid or their grandkid or something. And then they didn't say, it was just a random guy. So I was a little salty about that because they could have easily, they didn't even have to say anything. They could have just made him have blonde hair and green eyes because the major has green eyes and she has blonde hair. It would have been great, but no, it
Yep.
was just a normal
Or-
guy.
Or even just like he has the brooch.
Yeah,
He,
oh
he
yeah,
has
was
the
wearing-
gem, and it's like a
Yeah.
family heirloom.
yeah.
That would have been. It would have
Yeah.
been so easy to just sneak a little sneaky sneak. It would have been so easy, just a little
They
bite
didn't.
to
So it stays
satisfy
at
us.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that being said, anything else we want to throw in for enjoyment?
I just was so immersed in all of it, between the storytelling, the art, the different locations that they traveled to. I felt like I was really like in the world, and I wanted to like go write a letter and walk along the pier with the ships and with the breeze in my hair. You know, I wanted to be in that world because it was so cool. And yeah, it was just a nice like slow paced show. And I like, because I don't mind slower paced shows, but this one, it just like felt more realistic, like with her emotional journey. If it had gone any faster with any of that stuff, it would have felt weird, like unnatural.
Yep.
If they had, you know, made her any more human, quote unquote, faster than they had. I thought it was perfectly. I know that the pacing for the story was weird, but I thought that like her emotional growth pacing was perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And I want to kind of tag on to that. Like even at the precursor to her growth, like her pursuit, her journey she wanted to go on.
Mm-hmm.
I call it the foreigner journey because she
Mm.
I want to know what love is. I
Right.
want you to show me. That being the
Exactly.
core mission of somebody. I mean, when done well, right? Of course, it's beautiful to watch. It's very lovely.
Yeah,
That's the
it was
last
done
thing I
really
really
well.
wanted to say.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'm going to tack onto that as kind of one of my final notes, and that is I really wish that I could give this a higher score in enjoyment. And like when I was first editing this, like I pull a clip from the show to be the intro and outro, and I got a little emotional over just the little introduction and the music.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh man."
Oh man.
But when I was reviewing my score, it's like, "No, this is my score. This is what it
Yeah.
needs to be because of the other things."
Mm-hmm.
Which is
Yeah.
kind of frustrating because they did so many things so well, but then they fumbled in other areas, and so it sits right between that 8.5 and a 9, which is still a high score.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Yep.
I just can't give
Yep.
it higher, even though I want to.
Yeah. I guess my final thought would be like I think back to me watching the show, and where I remember things like the art and the music so fondly. I'm like, oh man, I just want to go watch the show again. But then I remember how sometimes when I was watching it, I'm like, okay, this is dragging on a little bit. I'm very pleased. My senses are very pleased, but my mind is a little lagging. Like I kind of want it to move faster. So like I too, like, I think I kind of wish I could also give it a higher score. But again, like to me, it's just at its base of what it is, which is an episodic slice of life show. It's just not my style of show at the end of the day. And so I can't like enjoy it more than that. But like, I think this fall and winter, I'm just going to like have it on the TV just playing.
Yeah.
And then maybe I'll start walking past and just like stand there and admire it for a while.
Yeah.
So it deserves to be shown.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh
Cool.
Okay. Let's
Okay.
wrap that up.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's move on to technical. So
yeah.
again,
What the-
intermission. All right, intermission. Skyler, take it away.
Alrighty, so there are 2 movies for this and 1 OVA, 13 episodes, and so this was done by Kyoto Animation Studios. And so that's the first fun fact that I'm going to go into. And so during the making of the second film, which is the one that we were mostly talking about, on the 18th of July 2019, there was an arson attack on the studio. And this killed 33 to 36 people and injured 34 people during the
Jeez.
production of the film. And just for context, in Japan, this was the deadliest massacre that has happened since World War II. So a lot of people died in this incident.
Dang.
I can't even imagine like what that would be for the studio.
Yeah.
Especially after they produced and worked on so much, to have something like that happen to them and that affect so many lives and so many families' lives with this kind of a movie. It's horrific.
Yeah. And so
In fact, can I just add one thing to that,
Go for
Skylar?
it.
So this is another reason I think watching the credits of Violet Evergarden is worth it. So Kyoto Animation said that at the end of the credits, they were going to have the names of all of the employees who suffered during that attack on screen as part of the credits,
Whoa.
which is pretty cool.
So it makes it, even more impressive. They were able to finish the movie and like make it was so good.
Well,
Like-
there were many delays that were caused because of this.
Yeah.
So
Oh, of
it
course.
destroyed.
So, yeah,
oh yeah. So it destroyed most of the computers and materials in Studio One,
Wow.
and various productions were impacted, including the 3rd episode of Fire Force, which was delayed. I think it was.
Yeah.
I don't remember how much that one was delayed by. But the other thing that kind of makes this kind of weird is that Kyoto Animation is actually known for being a good work environment for its employees. Because one of the things that a lot of studios do is that they pay their animators per frame. And what that does is it encourages them to just churn out frames because that's how they get paid. That's not how Kyoto Animation did it, which made the working environment just so much better for the employees.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's also some really cool stories. Like if anyone listening wants to go like look up more about the attack and the survivors of the attack, like there's one person who 2 weeks after the attack happened, he actually jumped out of a 2nd story balcony, and this was a 52-year-old person, had been working at the studio since the 1980s, jumped off of a 2-story balcony, and then went back to work to continue animating before his injuries had even healed. Like really passionate about the work. So
What the?
just really, there's some really
Holy
cool,
cow.
really inspiring stories from everything.
Yep. So to move on from the sad fact, on a lighter studio, the movie did really, really well. The movie was the 2nd highest grossing film made by Kyoto Animation, and it did well, really, really well in Japan, and it was only behind Christopher Nolan's Tenet.
Dang.
Which of two major names to put against each other. Like, I mean, Tenet, and now you have these guys making an incredible thing, Kyoto Studios.
Oh, yeah.
Bang. That's so cool.
Yep. And then the last fun fact that I have for you guys is that the original story began as a contest. And it won the grand prize.
So cool.
And then things just kind of went on from there. And then just kind of the bonus little feature, the contest was held by Kyoto Animation. So Kyoto Animation had the contest for the light novel that the anime was based off of.
That's so cool.
I forgot about that one. That was so nice.
Imagine
Jeez
being the
Louise.
writer of that and like you wrote like the most beautiful story ever. And now it's animated the most beautiful ever and the music is the most beautiful ever. What a dream.
So
To be that
yeah,
person.
that when I was researching the facts, I was actually really impressed by just the score list for the show. And I think that only a couple of other animes that I've done research for fun facts for have even more than like a few soundtracks for it. Violet Evergarden, it's a list.
Oh, like of awards and stuff?
No, of the soundtracks. But I think
Oh. I think it did win
each
awards
number.
though.
it has won awards in
absolutely
both.
did.
Yeah, in animation.
Like lots of
I think some of the
awards.
voice actors won awards.
Yeah, as they should.
So
They should.
yeah, those are the fun facts that I have for you this time.
Great fun facts.
Yeah, in fact, so when we originally recorded, I brought up some of the awards that
Oh yeah.
Violet Evergarden had won. Editing, and to Skyler's point, it included like, here, let me see if I can find just a couple here.
Like it's a list.
It's a
Oh,
it's
yeah.
a substantial
Yeah.
list.
Oh, I suppose while you're looking that up, the
Yeah,
Mal
please.
popularity ranking for the show is 51. So very respectable. And then for the movie, the popularity is down at 396, so a bit lower. However, when it comes to the ranked, the show is at 59, rank 59, but the movie is at rank 18.
Wow, what the?
That's of all, just so everyone knows, that's of like all anime.
Yeah, of all anime,
Like,
it comes in number 18.
Anime.
That's crazy that it's so. For one, the show is better, but then for that, the movie is better. That's crazy.
Yeah, so for the movie, so the show is pretty consistent. The show goes from 51 popularity to ranked 59. So pretty consistent, all
Oh,
considered. The movie goes from popularity 396 to ranked 18.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
So okay, here's just a collection of awards that Violet Evergarden has been nominated for and won. Best anime series, best anime episode, episode 10. Loved ones
Yep.
will always watch over you.
That's some other
Best
daughter one.
animation, anime of the year, best animation, best director, best character design, best art direction, best English voice actor performance. We'll talk about that.
Yes.
Best actress in a leading role. Best protagonist, anime of the year again. Best anime series, the 2018 Real Music Awards, score of the year, original soundtrack award, original score for a television series. Like it goes,
Wow.
the list goes on and on. It's won multiple. The city of Kyoto, and maybe they're a little bit biased, but they hold an award show as well, because it's a very like prime area for just arts and animation, and won multiple awards over there. Like its belt is stacked.
Well,
Let's just put it that way.
I think the studio is located in Kyoto.
It is. Yeah,
So-
it is. That's why I said maybe they're a little biased.
Yeah,
'cause
yeah.
The city is where the studio is, and the studio's in the city.
Just
But
for the
yeah,
viewers who
it's-
might not have known that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Still.
Yeah. Well done,
All
show.
well
It deserves
deserved.
every lick of it. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Very good.
Okay. So on to technical.
Not a technical.
Yep.
Onwards.
Okay, on to technical. So, technical, we use a standard rubric that has the same criteria that we judge every show on this podcast against. And it includes art, story, characters, and delivery. We rank each of these on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being terrible, 5 being exceptional. And we always start with art. Art includes music, animation, sound design, art style, intro, and outro. Skyler, what's a 1? What's a 5?
Do I need to read the one?
just read a 5, I guess.
5, exceptional. The composition is always beautiful, cohesive, fitting, engaging, notable, ambitious, and expertly performed.
And it goes without saying, we've given Violet Evergarden a 5 in the
Yeah.
art department.
We're
In
gonna-
fact, it is quite possibly the greatest. Like, if we could give it a 5.5, we would. It stands above pretty much everything we've ever seen. There's only one other show we've ever given a 5 to in art, and it's Demon Slayer.
And even then, this
It
one's
doesn't even come
still-
close to this.
Even then, this one's better.
So, like, if you guys
truly
remember
is.
when we talked about Mob Psycho and its characters were like a 3, and we gave Mob like a star character like evaluation. This one's a 5, and its art gets a star, its music gets a star, its sound design gets a star, its animation gets a star.
They all get
It's
stars.
accolades supreme. This is the anime of just immaculate beauty. I remember saying last time we recorded this, how like most movies try to like get to the level of animation and art quality as this anime just does on every episode.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's incredible. Like, and then the soundtrack on top of it, built for each episode independently of each other, for orchestral score. And then the sound design, which, I mean, we can just say these generalizations a mile, but I want to just shout out the sound design. I love her little clicky hand.
Oh,
Every time
yeah.
a little clicky hand gets pulled out and does make the little clinky
typewriter
metals.
sounds.
And then it gets on the typewriter, it goes click, click, click. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, yes, more of that little clicky hand, please.
Yeah, and all of like because they have like their many layers of clothes, so like their clothes are always like rustling, and it's like so many little details, and the footsteps sound different for each person, you know, depending on if they're
And in
walking
the-
inside or outside.
And to that point, Bridget, and in the different buildings, like the
Yeah.
buildings, like, so I talked about this in our last recording, but the people who are responsible for creating the sounds that you hear in a show are called Foleys. Go look up some YouTube clips of Foleys working. It is like one of the coolest things you'll ever see.
Hard.
And
Unexpected, too.
they put such an attention to detail in this show because the buildings were older. So like the wood creaking and opening a door, the sound of it, and like the window shutters, and like when you step, the boards creak. It's not just like, okay, someone's walking on wood. It's like someone's walking on wood, and on the third step, the wood creaks. And on the next step, it creaks differently. Like, they really nailed everything.
Absolutely.
It was fantastic.
Yep. There's never been a show that's deserved this 5 more than this show.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
even like you mentioned earlier, where it's like there are different standards for movies and shows, and the show executed on the movie level and beyond.
Yep.
Oh yeah, yeah. In fact, we did. So Belle, which is an anime movie that we went and all saw together for Anime Club, and then we have a podcast episode about it.
Yep.
Even a dedicated musical with a super high budget, we don't even think comes close to the quality of Violet Evergarden in terms of the accomplishment that it had for its art category. Maybe we should have given it a little higher, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, there were some weird animation moments. Like we gave it the score we did. However, I'll just say Violet Evergarden tops movies despite their budget, despite their time, despite their everything. Like it's amazing.
Yeah.
This I think us going. This is probably the section that's going to suffer most from us having to record this, is because we have our scores already, and we kind of need to talk through them. This one will easily be the shortest one. I think it is supreme.
Yeah.
But just kind of stick with us a little bit as we kind of blow through our technical scoring here.
Yeah. Truly a spectacle of sight and sound.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
But Violet Evergarden. So deserving of a 5. on all categories.
Yeah.
So let's move on to story. Story includes plot, plot devices, tone/mood, continuity, world building, pacing, rules and systems, and tropes. Skyler, what's a 1? What's a 5?
1, terrible. The story was frequently nonsensical, inconsistent, boring, confusing, ambiguous, unoriginal, and disappointing. Whereas a 5, exceptional. The story was always consistent, well-paced, comprehensible, consummate, on point with mood and tone, and unique.
And
to this one, we had
Go ahead,
given a 4. A 4 being often in
Good.
of our exceptional qualities. So let's talk about that.
Yeah. Who wants to start? Why did we give it a 4?
I will start, and I think that you actually kind of mentioned it initially, Brett, which is kind of the disconnect between the A plot and the B plot. And with how it was really, really good, but there were just some points that I don't think that quite delivered on, if I'm remembering the conversation correctly.
I think, like, oh, sorry, go ahead, Skyler.
Well, because kind of like we mentioned, because like the world building is kind of where the whole discussion about the auto memory dolls comes into play, as well as, you know, the fact that she's the only one that has the automail arms where no one else does. That's all in the world building and the continuity of the world. And I think those were some of the big points that really dragged it down, because for everything else, or on the 4.5 to 5 side of things, where they're just, they were really good.
Yeah.
And even just like with, you know, Brett mentioned this with the A plot, I don't think we gushed enough over that section, because when it really went into that full attack on Intense, and it showed her pulling out the captain, and just the story and how they set up the mood and the tone around that was really, really good. But again, because of the other things that we kind of mentioned, that's what I think dragged the score down.
Yeah, the one I want to shout out again, the inconsistency is like, why does she have the automail arm? It is never really referenced, except for to give her a more robotic, just like persona. But no other amputee in the movie has replacement limbs. Nobody else has this level of technology. Like, there's no reason for this thing to exist in this very otherwise, you know, grounded world. And yeah, there's bites about that.
Yeah. Even though it was such a great part of the story, it still was like harder to swallow because no one else had it.
Well said.
Yep.
Yeah. One of the other things we brought up, again, Skyler, you kind of mentioned it, but I'll just highlight it, is again the fact that auto memory dolls even existed or needed to exist in the first place, and their justification for existing, which they do address in the movie a little bit about how they lost their jobs because of telephones, but it's like, well, but should their jobs have existed in the first place? So yeah, like there was that piece to it as well.
Well, and that's also kind of where we went into in the enjoyment section, where the explanation that they gave for the auto dolls versus what they did were different.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for what they actually did, there was no real need for them to go away, because even in our era, we still have those people who do those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Yep. And there's some notes here we kind of talked about how the story. I'm tempering this though, because while the story is wonky, we believe it's all there. It just needs to be in a different order. Like the presentation of it is what screws up.
The edit.
Which is why we're not talking about it here. It's going to go later in the edit, because we think the story is good, just out of order.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call
So
out.
we don't necessarily take a bunch of points away from that category in here, but we address those other things. Yeah.
They had the right elements.
Yes.
Yeah. Bridget, what thoughts do you have?
I agree. I think that the story was good, just not in the right order. So we talk about it later. But as far as the adjectives that we use in the rubric, like the words like unique, on point in mood and tone, consummate, you know, things like that, I think that it achieves so much in that. So I think that's why it's those bites about like the inconsistency thing with the auto mail and the kind of weird plot hole of like the auto memory doll thing, that those are things that are making it fall down from a high rating and not like it needs to be like brought up with anything else, because it is super duper good. It's just falling down with those small things. So I think that it yeah, for sure. 4.
Well, and while they are small, they're so central to a lot of things that happen that's why I think they were given so much weight.
Yeah, for sure. Like if each of them are worth 0.5, then that's, going from a 5 down. And there, there's probably other like even smaller things, throughout that are kind of like, but but yeah, like those two are the big ones that I can think of also.
Yep.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Anything else for this category?
No, I'm very happy with the 4 we gave it, and I think we can.
All right.
We can take that what we said.
Okay.
Yep.
So we've got our 4 for story. Now moving on to characters. Characters includes their design, development, motivation, action/inaction, relationships, and personality. Skyler, what's a 1 and a 5?
1, terrible. The characters are frequently unreasonable, confusing, inconsistent, unreasonably static dynamic, and annoying. Whereas a 5, exceptional. The characters are always understandable, consistent, reasonable, adequately static dynamic, and relatable.
And we gave Braydn. What did we give this?
In our prior conversation and the lost footage, we gave this one a resolved 4.5 out of 5. Yep.
Nice. So here's the question.
Yeah.
Why didn't we give this a 5?
I personally only have one note on this.
Okay.
Because especially Violet is the main character. Every other like of these story characters that happen in these episodic things they are a little bit dynamic or a little bit static, but aren't gonna be referenced ever again. Like we kind of mentioned with the kid from episode 6. Like they come in and they're gonna leave no matter what dynamicism or uniqueness they bring to the table. So it's mostly about our main girl Violet. However, I want to say that the post office characters, the side characters, the other writer girls, the guy with great fashion, Benedict Blue, with a fantastic name. I forgot his name too. They seem to feel weirdly static and mostly utilitarian, kind of like fill in space. They seem more interesting than they ever get used for in the story. Besides the one girl who we do an episode with in her village. What was her name again?
Is it her name Iris or something?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Iris Canary. Canary. Besides the one-off story with her, and even that, it doesn't seem to really affect her involvement in the story later on. They seem strangely static of a cast to kind of exist around this Violet and this like beautiful world, but they don't seem to really do much. That's the note I had from.
Yeah, and I agree with that. But the one exception would definitely be Claudia, the boss guy. I really like his character, and he really goes through some cool like emotional moments with Violet, like where he's like too overprotective of her. He doesn't, really see her as like a fully formed human, but as she grows, he comes to realize that like, she's doing her thing. He doesn't need to be so involved or, and especially it kind of all comes together in the movie at the end when he like becomes like her advocate, and not just in like a parental way that he like kind of was, but he is supporting her in like the decisions that she's making, even if it's not what he would have done. Like when she's when the major tells her that he like doesn't want to see her anymore, like he's he like bangs on the door and like tells him how stupid he is or whatever. Like that part was so good. Oh man. But anyways, I think that his character was probably, I don't know, I would say that he's almost even like a second main character. Like if we were
Yeah.
if
Oh,
we
yeah.
were ranking the side characters, he'd be like the top side character. And then also Dietfried or whatever his name is, the mean brother.
Yes.
He's also
Yeah.
he's also a really good side character, like a top side character, I think. And we
Yep.
haven't really talked about him yet. But I thought he
Yeah,
had a
we
good
don't like him. He's kind of an a-hole.
He had a good, but he had a good ending. He was
feel like-
cool in the end.
I feel
was.
like his role was he did exactly what he needed to do as a
Yeah.
character for the story.
Yeah.
And so for that reason, I was like, yeah, he does exactly what he needs to do. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that also means that he's pretty unremarkable. There's not a lot to talk about with him.
Yeah.
One thing I will bring up, because characters is where the whole relationship thing comes up, is the thing between like what is it, Catlie? What's her name?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know where you're going.
Because there was the thing between her and Benedict that was mentioned one time in one episode. I was like, "Ooh, are we gonna get something here?" And
Yeah.
then nothing ever happened.
Oh.
Wait, was it between
Yeah.
Benedict or the boss?
No, it was between Benedict, because they're always at each other's throats. But then in this one
Oh.
scene, they were like being really nice to each other, and they were just totally chilling. And then
Yeah.
someone commented, like, "Wait, aren't you getting along a little too well?"
Oh.
And they kind of gave each other a look, and then they started fighting
Oh, yeah,
again.
I hate you. I forgot.
But yeah, there
That's
was
right.
definitely some history between Catlia and Claudia. But yeah, it was kind of weird that little thread was brought up, but then nothing ever happened with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that is kind of a weird thing in the characters section, where it's like,
Yeah. I will say that even though the side characters, side characters meaning the characters that she would run into her little vignettes, I think
Yeah.
that even though they were only around for one episode, it was a very good characters, even for that one episode that
Yes.
we weren't going to see again. Just because they were static or whatever. I mean, even they weren't even that static within their episodes if you think about it. The playwright guy, he started out really salty and he was like a drunk, and then he transformed and within one episode and kind of started to come back into himself a little bit. And then the little
Yeah.
girl with the sick mom, she really hated Violet at the beginning, and she thought she was coming to take her mom away or something. And then by the end of it, she really liked Violet. So even within the little vignettes, even though the characters were only there for a minute and they just fulfilled what they needed to do, and it was in an impressive way.
Yeah,
Yep.
each of those little mini stories revolved around an interesting character, like an
Yeah.
interesting someone that had something that actually needed resolved.
Yeah, because they
Yeah.
needed to change in order for Violet to undergo a change in her emotional journey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
and
think
besides
that was did really
the
well.
episode 10 mother and daughter one we keep referencing, and the movies, boy and his friend, kind of pretty heavy crossover lines. Besides that, they don't really repeat in what they're trying to convey with these little
Yeah.
mini stories, which is impressive. Which it's kind of a story thing, but there's a core character in there that really brings those stories to life. The playwright and the mother and the scholar boy, and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. And
Yeah.
and the aspect of that we're looking at here is that they're adequately dynamic. They
Yeah.
are changing
Yes.
at the rate that we expect them to, and that they should, for their character and for what they're doing.
And really, nobody does it better than our main girl, Violet. Her transformation is incredible and robust and believable. And it just sweeps your thinking emotions right to thinking cry town.
Yeah.
So she being the main character and the core cast of this episodic show, it really brings this up. Reaching towards that 5, yet with some static other liners that kind of don't make that always that would be required for a 5 rating, exceptional rating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
And it's not
Braydn-
oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Bridge.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's not necessarily a character cast driven show, like a show like Haikyuu would be, which I know is one that was given a 5. So, but it's not like a character show, but the character that it centers around, the emotional progression of the character is perfect. But it doesn't it didn't need all the other cast to be like that. It wasn't that wasn't the purpose. So I think a 4.5 is perfect.
Yeah, and yeah, essentially the reason for the doc is that for the cast that was around more consistently, they were not adequately dynamic. They were a little too static with the exception of the one.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
fair.
even then, Iris, after that one episode, is still pretty static.
Yeah. Which the main focus is Violet, so it's not like it was a huge detractor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Their purpose wasn't to be these dynamic, focused characters because that would have distracted from Violet, which was the true point of the show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So we still feeling good about our 4.5 for characters.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
I agree. All right, that brings us into delivery. Delivery includes translation, voice acting, sub and dub, script, and edit. Skyler, what do we got? 1 to 5.
All right. 1, terrible. The delivery is frequently cheesy, unbalanced, inappropriate, incoherent, and bland. 5, exceptional. The delivery is always believable, balanced, genuine, understandable, elevating, and enriching.
And for this category, delivery, we gave it a score of 3.5 in our original recording.
And then just for reference, the 3, meh, on par with what you would expect from a decent show. It doesn't stand out for being exceptionally good or bad.
Yep.
Okay. So why? Why do we give it a 3.5? And I'll start with the point of the edit, like we've talked about, which is the order in which events and episodes are organized in the show. That's as we've talked about in our enjoyment and technical, that's a big part of why we don't think the delivery really landed. Like, you really are going to have the newest, freshest, wet behind the ears person who doesn't know about emotion go deliver a critical series of letters that has political implications and potentially violent like it was like it really was hard to swallow that pill.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it happens a couple times. And like it, because it goes from that one
Yep.
to her doing the scribe thing to her going up to doing the scribe thing for the scholars to going back to work on a playwright, and it makes her feel wobbly. Yeah. Also in the movie, which we talked about together with this, the edit of the weird time jumping,
Yep.
squiggliness. For whatever reason, they had a lot of beautiful, amazing things going, and this thinking, the edit, the storytelling, lining everything up, this wasn't there. All the juice was there, just not in the right order.
So yeah,
Yep.
it's like this one it's not a 3 because it's meh across the board. It's almost like there was so many good things and then some really, really big bad things, and so it balances out to the middle.
Which one of the really, really good things was the dub for this show, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
The dub was blasted incredible. I vastly prefer the dub of this show to its sub.
Yes. Yeah, me and Brett, when we watched it the first time, we watched it dubbed, and I really, really liked the voice actor for Violet. She did really, really good.
Right?
When I think of
Yeah.
Violet, I think of like that voice. Like she had such like a good gentle voice for like those parts, and how her voice and the way that she spoke and delivered things evolved over the course of the show, and she got like more articulate with her emotions and had a greater emotional range, whereas at the beginning, like, you know, she's more robotic, and then she is able to, you know, scream and cry and, you know, stuff by the end. I thought that the dub one did really well, and I think that we watched the movie subbed.
We did.
Yeah, and
Yep.
the voice actress for that one was great too. Like, I thought
Yeah, sure.
both of them were great.
I just
The
think
dub, as a reminder, the dub was so good that the English dub voice actor who played Violet received the best voice actor of the year award for her presentation of Violet.
Yeah,
Dang.
well deserved.
So I think the reason why I end up liking the dub more in this one is because it had that just like very strong European environment.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
a lot of animes in Tokyo, a lot of animes like referencing culture that we don't understand. This is like very grounded in something that we have spent a lot of time experiencing in entertainment, Europe, and like
Yeah.
so the English voice acting just kind of lends itself to that point. And I mean, not to again take away from the phenomenal job they did, but also just like kind of fit. It was nice.
Yeah, and then like the names that they had were not Japanese names. They were like English names, like Violet and Claudia
Yeah.
and
That-
Gilbert.
That's
So
true.
I think that in particular was what really did it for me, because like you'd be watching the Japanese version, it'd be Violetto, or they would just the way that you pronounce European names in Japanese just isn't the same. And where the names of the cities, the places, the people were all European based, it was an easier listen in English, and the emotion seemed to track better because you're saying English names in English. So yeah, I'm glad Bridget brought that up, because I actually agree with that. It tracked a little bit better in some ways. Now, just for context, so everyone knows, we never dock points for a bad dub, because that's the expectation. But for a good dub, we do kind of start giving bonus points because it's really hard to do historically. There's very few shows that do it really well. We could probably name them on like one hand. We've got like Violet Evergarden, Cowboy Bebop does pretty good. Steins Gate should exclusively be watched dubbed.
Yep.
And
Great
then there's like
Pretender?
a couple.
Great Pretender.
Yeah, Great Pretender's pretty good. So there's four.
There's four.
There's like,
Is there a fifth one? I don't know.
yeah, sure. There's some decent dubs out there, but really exceptional dubs are super, super rare. And I think Violet Evergarden is somewhere between a really good and an exceptional dub. Like it's good.
Yep. Yep.
The only downside, and it's the same all the time, is children are voice acted by adults, and it's cringy and horrible. And can everyone please stop? Never do it again. It's not worth it. Don't do it.
Oh yeah, isn't it in one of the? It's in one of the side movies. I remember now. There's a character in one of the side movies that is a little girl, and it's like played by an adult, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's bad.
It's
bad.
not
I
in
never
the
got to
main
see
show
those
though.
ones.
It's
Yeah, it's not in the
bad,
main
bad.
show.
It's like
Yeah, it was like unwatchable. just that one, though,
And
but the rest of
the kid was like one of the main characters too. It was like,
for
come
for that
on.
episode or for that movie.
Yeah.
Anyways,
So rounding back onto this, exceptional voice acting, especially by Violet, and really unfortunate edits.
yeah,
Decisions that led
Yeah.
to some confusion as to her progression
yeah, and I think
is
the
what
script
resolves
was
us
good.
to that 3.5.
Yeah, because the
that-
script
that
was
Wibbly
also
3.5.
good. Translation was, I think, good for the parts that I watched dub or sub.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
off
think
top
the
of my
script was
head-
really good.
Yeah, I don't remember any big issues off the top of my head. But Brain's normally the one who catches that stuff.
I mean,
So-
there's one. I didn't feel the need particularly to bring it up. There is actually a very major sneaking voice acting accident that happens. I think I recognized it a couple of times, but in episode 6, that kid we keep bringing up, Leon, that potential brother or love interest or whatever for Violet, as she's departing out of the rail,
Oh,
away
yeah.
from this, like it's a big emotional moment. He runs to the precipice and like reaches out to her and says, "No, don't go. Why are you leaving?" Completely normal, non-emotive voice, and that wasn't just in the dub. I checked it; it's also in the subtitle version, the Japanese audio version of it.
See, that's weird. Like someone had to be like in the studio listening and be like, "Hey, could you maybe like tone down the emotion? Let's roll it back. Could you bring back a little bit more, a little bit less? Okay, one more time. Just like imagine you like just like imagine that you just like maybe like ate some bread, your mouth is really dry, and you've been sick, your throat's really sore, so you got to talk quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Yep,
Perfect.
that's a wrap. Okay, next. Like what?
Ugh.
Someone had to. talk someone through that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. And just allow that through. I don't know.
Silly,
My
silly.
notes say that happened a couple times where the emotion didn't quite stick with the line, and that was a big egregious error. So yeah, there's a thing there. It's just a little side bit though.
Yeah. Glad you brought it up. Okay. So are we good? Do we still think that the 3.5 is what we're going with?
Yeah.
Do we feel good about that still?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm on board. 3.5. So we total everything up. Art 5 plus. Story 4. Characters 4.5. Delivery 3.5. We land with a total of 8.5. Technical for this show / movie. Braydn,
Yeah.
where does that put us? Where does that rank up?
In our current lineup, that has us tie with The Great Pretender in our 5th top rated anime of our podcast.
Nice.
Yep. The one.
See, my gut reaction is like Violet Evergarden's better, but then I remember the edit issues, right? And I'm like,
Pretty
okay,
significant.
like there's some things that hold it back a little bit. So like but that's my gut reaction. But then when I think about it, I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah.
The
all
full
right.
conversation needs to be in context.
Looking at
Yeah.
the scores for Great Pretender, it's the same scores just in different places.
It really
So,
is.
Violet got a 5 in art, whereas Great Pretender got a 5 in delivery. Great Pretender got a 4.5 in art, whereas Violet Evergarden got that in characters. Both Violet Evergarden and Great Pretender got a 4 in story. And then for the 3.5 area, it was characters for Great Pretender and delivery for Violet Evergarden.
That's funny.
Yeah. It is kind of funny. So it landed just behind our Spy X Family review of part 1 of season 1 of Spy X Family, and just above our review of Sword Art Online, the first 14 episodes, Kaguya-sama Love is War, and Jujutsu Kaisen 0. Yep.
Wow. Okay, very cool.
There it is. Well
All right.
set, well placed.
That was a great discussion for a great show. Let's really quickly give some recommendations. If people liked Violet Evergarden, what should they go watch?
I'll start.
Okay, take it.
Okay.
Please,
I'm
Bridget,
the guest.
lead us in.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. My first one is the anime To Your Eternity, because one, it is it's kind of the same genre-ish, where it's like a drama, and it follows the journey of a being that does not have emotion to turning into an emotional being who's, a fully formed human type character. It's really, really cool. It follows the progression at, I think, a really appropriate tempo, just like in Violet Evergarden. It's really interesting, makes you think about life and emotions, and is just a beautiful show.
Sweet. Love it.
And is currently airing season 2 as of this recording.
Yes, indeed.
Very exciting.
A place further than the universe?
No, To Your
No,
Eternity.
No, Tear Eternity. Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, my brain got super mixed up for a second. Tear Eternity,
Cross
yes,
the
it is
wires.
currently
Yeah.
airing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That's my first one.
I can do one.
Hit it.
I'm going to do a really fast one and then a real one. My really fast one is Fire Force, only because the same studio that made Violet Evergarden made Fire Force, and the Fire Force sound design is probably the greatest of all time. It's the GOAT sound design.
Absolute go.
I'm just gonna say it. Go watch season 1 of Fire Force. I don't think season 2 is as good, but my real recommendation is Kino's Journey. Kino's Journey is a really episodic, emotional. There's really not a lot of a plot. It's just this person and their talking motorcycle going from country to country where they experience totally different cultures and rules. And it's a very theoretical thinking show. Like, what if murder was legal? Well, what would a country like that look like? What if there was a country that moved like across the world? So just some really interesting theoretical things. Really pretty, also not on the same level as Violet, but yeah, it's interesting.
I want to step in with my top recommendation for our show, Violet Evergarden. I want to recommend the movie Your Name. Because while like there's nothing really quite like Violet Evergarden in the TV show realm, there are some also fantastic masterpieces of film. And the one I want to put forward is Your Name. It's an elegant story about two kids who are separated by I mean, they don't really know what they're separated by. They just find that their bodies swap out for no good reason and have to deal with that as teenagers. Beautiful soundtrack, elegant sneaking artboard or
Animation.
storyboard, and the story is so good. It's a very good romance crew. Oh, it's resolved in one of my favorite ways. I love it. I love it so much. Your Name is my recommendation number 1.
Yes.
Sweet. All right. So my first recommendation might seem like a bit of an odd one, but it's Rascal Does Not Dream of Bunny Girl Senpai.
Okay. Great. I love it. Go continue.
So the reason that this one comes to mind is just you have these characters that are kind of dealing with some pretty intense stuff, all considered. And so, I don't know, just like the main boy, just kind of watching him work through all of these different issues reminds me a bit of Violet.
Okay.
All right.
She does have a very interesting setup to have to deal with the world, much like your characters in Rascal.
Yeah. Rascal's a good romance too.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. Indeed,
It's a
indeed.
good romance. I don't say that about a lot of romance. I don't. It's a good romance.
Okay, Bridget. Or Brett, go ahead.
I'm just going to jump in with another one on the topic of romance. And Braydn, you reminded me about movies. I'm going to say Weathering with You. Because, again, the animation and the sound design in Weathering with You is so good. Watch it on a snowy or a rainy day. Oh my gosh. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite anime movies just for the vibe. Oh,
Same studio as Your Name,
so
right?
pretty. So pretty.
Yes,
Correct.
Yeah.
There's also another movie by that same studio coming out at the end of 2022. The Girl and the Door That Locks, or something like that. The English translation hasn't really officially been released, I don't think yet. But it's same studio, and so it's gonna kind of be in that same world of Your Name, Weathering with You. It'll be mixed in there. So
Sweet.
that'll be exciting. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Bridge,
it's my
go ahead.
turn. I have one more recommendation, and that is the anime Spice and Wolf. And I recommend this one because it has similar vibes as Violet Evergarden, where it's a slower moving show. The world is very immersive. It is like more of a drama, kind of romance-y. I think it's technically in the romance category, but it could be up for debate. Anyways, so I like how just the world is so immersive. It has very, very much like Violet Evergarden. It's the perfect show to watch if you are snowed in a cabin. It has just like those therapeutic vibes. It's a great show to just, have some cider and wrap up in a blanket and watch it in one weekend. So, anyways.
I almost want to title this episode "When You're Snowed In." And it's
Yeah, what's a watch when you're snowed in?
yeah, just to be cozy.
Yes.
Great. Yeah. Yep, that's my next recommendation.
Oh, lovely.
Spice and Wolf.
All right, I got another spicy one for you. I want to recommend Carol and Tuesday as a recommendation for this one. While the stories are immensely different, Carol and Tuesday is about two young girls who are on Mars, because reasons, I guess. That's what the setting is. We're in the future. They are dealing with creating music in an overly electronic music created scenario. I'm trying to say environment. There it is. And I like the episodic kind of nature and the slow kind of progression reminds me of Violet Evergarden's tempo. And also, it's anime about music, so there's been some pretty cool tunes and conversation about music throughout it. So it does get very political in season 2, a little bit distastefully. Yet in the end, I enjoyed kind of their little progression. It's a soft story that I enjoyed. You might want to watch it perhaps on a snowy day when stay up and be cozy on the inside.
It's kind of a summery show, though.
It
I'm
is
not
summery.
disagreeing
I'm
with
just
you.
kidding. I'm
Yeah,
entirely
Braydn,
leaving.
you ruined the
Okay,
vibe.
okay.
Way to go. I'm just kidding.
If you want an episode about snow and ice, though, my next recommendation is A Place Further Than the Universe.
Hey, there it is.
There you go.
Yeah.
Watch
So-
that
Bring
one
it
on a
back.
snowy day.
So,
Yeah.
quite literally, because A Place Further Than the Universe is literally the journey about a bunch of high school girls trying to and going to Antarctica. And just off that, you might be wondering, like, wait, what? Is it really a recommendation? Is it really that good? The answer is yes. It is. It is.
In fact, it has the highest technical score we have ever given on this show.
It only fell
So-
short by half a point in art
In art.
category. I
In
believe.
one category, half
one
a point.
category, and that's it.
And
And the
even
only
then,
reason it was half a point short in art is because we knew we would one day be reviewing it.
Violet
Evergarden
Evergarden.
Demon Slayer.
Yeah.
So
Violet Evergarden is the nemesis of A Place for the Universe. The only thing keeping it from a 10.
For the art, yeah.
Yeah.
because the story somehow is just really good. The characters are good, and even the art is still solid. It's just
oh yes, very
all
much so. You got a
around.
4.5.
Yeah, so it is all around a fantastic anime. Go check it out,
Yes.
and even go check out our episode.
Yes.
Yeah, go
watch
check out
the
our episode.
anime. Watch the anime, then watch the episode.
Yeah, if you're
It's
not
like
convinced
11, 12
you should watch
episodes.
it. Yeah, it's short. If you're not convinced you should watch it, go listen to our episode and then decide from there. Okay, I'll give my last recommendation. There are a couple other movies I want to recommend, but I'll keep it short and I'll just say, if you love music, if you love emotions, and if you love feeling some of the things you felt during Violet Evergarden, go watch Your Lie in April.
Yeah, just bring some tissues with you.
Go
Yeah.
watch Your Lie in April. It's
yeah.
it's beautiful, tragic, and lovely, and
The drama. So good.
Yep.
Big drama energy.
so there you go. There you go. Does anyone else have any other recommendations?
I have, yes, I
I'm
do.
done.
I have one last one.
Okay,
Definitely-
do one last one.
One of my softer recommendations, I want to recommend Ranking of Kings.
Okay.
Because for my conversations about how I enjoyed shows, like, there are a few that entirely can sweep me away by their aesthetic alone, and Ranking of Kings is one of them. The story is about this young princeling in a fantastical, like, medieval setting. He's mute and has a hard time, like, living up to his expectations of being the next king or whatnot. He gets taken on a crazy journey that doesn't all the way make sense as you go through it. Yet, for me, the aesthetic, the sound, the music, the unique animation style and art style they have just sucked me into it. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it top to finish with that alone. So, Ranking of Kings, the last recommendation.
All right.
Very nice.
If he gives Ranking of Kings, I have to just quickly give Grimgar Ashes and Illusions. If we're going for art aesthetics,
Yeah.
I agree with Braydn. Ranking of Kings is its own unique art aesthetic. Grimgar Ashes and Illusions is an isekai that we think is one of the most underrated best isekai of all time. Check out our episode about that. Every set piece of Grimgar is a hand painted watercolor, and then the characters are animated on top of the watercolor painting, like style.
It's really cool.
Man, it slaps. Definitely, I would say check that out for the art aesthetic piece, just like Ranking of Kings.
Yep. And then I've
Okay.
got one more recommendation.
Yeah, do it, Skyler. Do it.
And this one is going to be Laid Back Camp. So this one's another one that might seem a little odd, but the thing that kind of ties it in is that it is a bit slower, like Violet Evergarden, and there's really only one main person that you're following around on essentially this camping journey.
Aw.
And yeah,
It's lovely.
it is just a very relaxing, chill thing. And it is one of the few animes that I've seen where a character is allowed to essentially be an introvert throughout the entire show.
Let's go.
Whoa, big introvert
So-
energy. Let's go.
Love that.
So yeah,
Cool.
Laid Back Camp.
All right.
Sweet. All right, then I think that wraps us up for this show. Thank you all for sticking around, watching, listening. Really appreciate you. Again, you can check out some really fun stuff like our rubrics, about us, and a calendar for our upcoming seasons on 310anime.com, 310anime.com. We also have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, we have a Facebook, we have all the things. Follow us if you want, check us out, and if you made it all the way to the end of this video, maybe leave a comment about something you want us to put on our calendar for season 3. We're going to be planning season 3. We do a new season every January and June with 12 to 15 episodes of anime goodness. So what do you want to see us review in season 3? Let us know. You can also tag us, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the good stuff. But until then, we will announce our next week's show. So next week, we will be covering a special episode.
Yeah, we's interesting statement there.
Yeah, do it, Braydn.
We decided to do a little side project where each of us are going to take our own episode to host. So next week is mine. I will be hosting. I'm going to pull in a whole new cast of critics, pulling from my friends, some from Australia, some from more local here in Utah. And we're going to be reviewing an anime called Ping Pong the Animation. A very wild sports anime about, you guessed it, ping pong. That surprised the stink out of me because if coming from a Mob Psycho 100 loving of its really ugly characters, I didn't expect anything to get uglier than that for me to still appreciate it. But that one cuts it. So
Oh,
get into our
boy.
conversation. It's quite something.
oh boy. Amazing.
Cool. Yeah, that'll be exciting.
I'm
And
excited.
then I know Braydon's going to announce it, but since we're talking about the special episodes, let's just announce them all right now, real quick.
Let's do
Braydn
it.
Ping Pong the Animation. Then I'm hosting a special 2-part series, mini-series on Naruto. We have Naruto OG as episode 6 of season 2. Episode 7 of season 2 is dedicated to Naruto Shippuden. We are not doing Boruto because it's garbage. Okay, then following up that, Skyler is going to hit us with a drama, The Ancient Magus Bride, for episode 8. So you've got the next 4 weeks lined out for you. Special episodes from Braydn, Brett, and Skyler, Ping Pong, Naruto, Ancient Magus Bride. It's going to be an awesome winter. We hope that you all enjoy the snow. And now you have some great shows to watch when you're curled up inside with your blanket and your hot cocoa, your apple cider. So
welcome.
we will not see all of you again as a whole cast of hosts until our finale. The grand finale at the beginning of December is going to be Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. So we look forward to seeing you again for that final episode of the season.
Ooh,
While we
buddy.
take a little bit of a holiday break, get ready for season 3 for even more excitement. We look forward to seeing you soon. Until next time, Johnny.
Good night, everybody.
See ya.
Bye.
自動式人形サービスバイオレットエヴァーガーデンです。